lifespan development is developmental psychology. How we change, how we grow, how we adapt, how we modify. Cognitive changes across the lifespan, social changes across the lifespan, and as this slide implies, moral development across the lifespan. Two key individuals that we're going to look at in this little mini lesson would be Lawrence Kohlberg and the 3 stages that he theorized involving moral development, and the feminist critique of his theories and ideas as presented by Carol Gilligan. But moral development, as the image, as the graphic implies, is one's code of conduct, their system of right and wrong. Everybody has a system of right and wrong. Now, their system and your system may not be the same. Society may agree or disagree with how one acts and behaves, but everybody has a system of right and wrong that drives their day-to-day actions and interactions. Moral development itself is very important in society. It is very interesting that now in business classes, it used to be that a firm handshake and a person's word was enough. But now we have to sign documents, we have to get things notarized, there has to be witnesses in order for any agreement to be met. And of course the punchline with this, how important are ethics in today's society? They are probably as important now as they ever have been. Because obviously some people's moral compass at best has been painted on. If you take a look at the picture that's up on the screen, you can probably finish the statement here. There is varying forms of moral development presented in different situations. For example, with this, maybe the boyfriend or the significant other that may have been busted may call his ex up on the phone, and he may say that he's sorry, that he may even beg for forgiveness, and indeed he may actually be sorry. But the catch is he sorry that he did it, or is he sorry that he was caught? Because that in itself contains 2 entirely different ways of moral reasoning. Cheating, and we are a society that definitely incentivizes this. If you take a look at the moral dilemma that's on the screen, assume your wife is extremely ill, but you have no money with which to buy her medicine. She is extremely uncomfortable and may die if you do not get her the medicine that she needs. Is it acceptable for you to break into the pharmacy and steal the medicine? Lawrence Kohlberg, in his research on moral development, used similar moral dilemmas to see where the individuals that he experimented on, in which one of the 3 domains did their morality reside. What makes this a moral dilemma, no matter what you do, somebody is going to get hurt. This is one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't type of scenarios. If you obey the law, a loved one dies. If you save your loved one, you're facing jail time. No matter what you do, somebody's going to get hurt, somebody is going to be arrested, somebody is going to fall victim. Yet another moral dilemma. You're buying groceries and the total is $8. You hand the cashier a $10 bill and she gives you $12 in change, having thought that you gave her a $20 bill. Do you tell her or do you pocket it? Again, no matter what you do, somebody is going to get hurt. In moral dilemmas, those dilemmas, what makes them a potential crisis, somebody will get caught in the crosshairs. Kohlberg theorized 3 stages of moral development. And unlike the other theorists that we've looked at, the stages that we've looked at, the catch with Lawrence Kohlberg's, everybody starts with the first stage, but not everybody advances past that. The first stage, this is where we all begin. Every last one of us begin in the pre-conventional stage of morality. The goal of this stage is to either get rewarded or to avoid punishment. If you are rewarded, then you did good. You did okay. If you're punished, then what you've done is probably wrong. And kids, especially at this stage, have a very black and white version of what right and wrong are. In most elementary schools, snitching is a big problem. Tattling is a big problem. If a kid says or does something wrong, immediately the other kids in the classroom will be very, very quick to raise their hand and let the teacher know. Okay, kids do not look at the social background of the kid. They could care less. One of the kids in the classroom has done wrong and needs to be punished. Now this is where we all start. Most of us advance, but not everybody. The second stage, he only theorized 3. This is where most of us end up, the conventional stage of morality. Go with the flow morality. Morality is based on conformity. Basically, if everybody else is doing it, then it can't be bad. Not that it's good, it just can't be all that bad if everybody's doing it. If everybody in the classroom is or has cheated on that homework assignment, then it can't be that bad. If your peers or society thinks that it's wrong, then you do as well. If they think that it's right, you do it as well. Okay, now going back to the school analogy, in elementary school, kids are very quick to tattle on one another. High school, middle school into high school, we don't call it tattling anymore. We call it snitching. And most are very, very quick. If they see something that's not right, most will keep their mouths shut because nobody else is going to tell the teacher. I'm not going to be the one that's going to be a whistleblower. And for that matter, most adults are also in this stage. They see their coworkers do something, and even if they know that it is wrong, well, everybody else is doing it, I guess I'll turn a blind eye to it as well, or I guess I'll do the same as everybody else. The final stage, and this is the third one, the third and final that Lawrence Kohlberg identified, is the post-conventional stage of morality. Now the catch with this stage, very, very few people actually make it here. Unlike the first stage that is very, very selfish, this stage is extremely selfless. The goal of this stage, and it is very narrow as very few people actually make it here, creating self-defined ethical principles, a selfless regard for humanity. You set your own personal ethics. Very few people make it to this level. And it is the individuals that have made it to this level that inspire others. And if you take a look at the gentleman that's on the right, Martin Luther King Jr. would exemplify this stage of morality. Bear in mind that he broke the law. He was a criminal, but the law itself was bad. The law itself was wrong. There were times in Gandhi's life that what he did so criminally. He broke the law, but the law itself was wrong. The law itself was bad. Very few people would go that far as to put their own livelihood, their own fortunes on the line for other people. Because it's also worth noting that these two individuals lived sacrificial lives as martyrs. Criticisms of Kohlberg, though. Well, most of Kohlberg's research, in most of his research, it was only boys, young men, that he actually tested with these moral dilemmas. Later studies, he did actually involve women, but with his form of research and his rigid way of grading the answers, women tended to score very low on Kohlberg's scale. Kohlberg theorized that maybe women are morally inferior to men. You do have to understand that in Kohlberg's day and time, You're looking at his research centering on or would have taken place in the 1950s, maybe 1960s, and that was a completely different society than today. But at the end of the day, why then did women score differently than men? Certainly the tests themselves perhaps had a gender bias. But more to the point, Carol Gilligan, who was an understudy to Lawrence Kohlberg, noted that maybe women assess moral situations differently than men. To that end, maybe women tend to look at more situational factors. So whereas a boy, a young man, may be quick to read a story in the paper about somebody who stole, somebody who was found guilty of a carjacking. Well, the person broke the law, they need to go to jail. They need to be in prison, we need to clean up the streets. Well, that is a very, very black and white way of assessing a moral judgment. Whereas women may be more inclined to look at the social factors that would have that person pursue a life of crime. What was the person's family life like? What was their schooling? What level of education have they achieved? What was the community like in which they came from? Women tend to be better suited for assessments like that than men. Men tend to be very, and it's very much a stereotype, but very black and white when it comes to passing moral judgments on one's character.